place. You've got Birmingham, which is where I'm from. You've got a huge city there. But then you've also got other cities close to Birmingham, such as Coventry, and you've got lots of villages and different places. So yeah, it's a big old place. It's the second biggest in the UK. So, that does make it quite a good hub for kink as well. Lots of different kink events going on and workshops and events. So yeah, there's a lot going on.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are here with the magnificent Lady Louisa from West Midlands. We're going to talk about that being a professional dom. We're going to talk about the kink community. We're going to talk about BDSM, double doming. People like Diana Van Rig and Suited Switch, Sissification, platforms, kink. You need to hear this, everybody. This is a good time. And we already have people in the chat saying hello. Hello, Stan. Greetings, Miss Louisa. So, Miss Louisa, Lady Louisa, what's inspiring you these days?
I think there's lots of different things that inspire me. But I think at the moment it's very much about, the online presence and advertising myself on lots of different platforms. I'm really enjoying being on Loyal Fans at the moment. I think it's great. I think there's so much on there. There's so much that I'm still learning about the platform. And I've recently moved away from OnlyFans to come onto Loyal Fans. And yeah, it's the best decision that I've made so far.
I noticed that a lot of people are going from OnlyFans to Loyal Fans. What inspired that choice?
Post a lot more on there. It's a lot more kink friendly. You can post videos and pictures that if you posted them on OnlyFans, they would be removed or taken down. That causes a lot of issues and obviously affects your income as well. So I definitely felt like Loyal Fans was naturally the right platform to go on.
Chris Baco's coming through and says, good Saturday morning, better than any cartoons when I was a kid. Have a nice weekend. Hello, Chris. See, people, the chat's always... PD says, warm greetings to you, Goddess Louisa. Bow down at your feet and welcome you. And we have all these greetings. Shay Patrick, Cormac, greetings from Louisa. See? Matthew C4 says, you are the most prettiest lady he ever saw.
Matthew.
And Diana Van Rig.
Yeah.
People love you. Why do you think so many people love you and adore you so much?
Thank you. I'm just myself. Honestly, I just enjoy just yeah. I love kink. It is a massive part of my life, and I just love, just everything's different, and I just embrace it all. I don't pretend to be something I'm not. I bumped into people outside of kink around, and some people come up to me and be like, oh, hello, and like, hi, like, just speak.
So when it comes to kink and being a professional dominatrix, there's specialties. Some people specialize in ABDL play or whatever. What would you say your specialty is?
Well, recently, over the last couple of years, adult baby play, funny enough.
Yeah, okay.
Play over the last couple would have said to me 4 or 5 years ago, oh, can I call you mummy? I would have been a bit like, oh, you can, but it's not really my thing. Whereas now is something that I really enjoy, being in mommy mode, and all the different role plays that I can do with it. But I suppose I'm quite well known for sissy play, impact play, and yeah, various different things. But I definitely say impact play, role play, are some of my favourites.
That's awesome. So now the mommy dom is a huge thing. More and more people are gravitating towards it. And I was very curious when you said, I wasn't into it, but now you're kind of embracing it. Was there a moment that kind of hooked you in, or kind of like that moment of realization? You're like, oh wow, I kind of dig this.
There wasn't a moment. I didn't just wake up and think, oh, I could be into age play. I think age, as I've got a little bit older,
Yeah.
has played a part in that, and just meeting the right person that you feel that you can enjoy that kink with definitely helps as well. Yeah.
So when it comes to diapers, cloth or regular?
Regular. Yeah. And I do hard sports like that. We fine, but I don't do poo poo. Not for me.
Yeah. Okay. So would you say that age players, um, I wouldn't say a little different, but they're unique in their own way. Sissification, the sissies, they're unique. Every fetish has their unique. So how for age players, ABDL, how would you just say it's a little different? And I'm not saying in a bad way. I'm saying in a good way. Just what are some of the characteristics that you?
It's psychological. A lot of it comes from their childhood or from having an experience with an older woman that has made them feel quite submissive, has made them, do as they tell them, and so that's stuck with them in sort of later life. But often when I've had sessions with people that are new to age play, even just saying the word mommy can be quite intimidating for them, because they, even in their own heads, are judging it as weird and they can't fully accept themselves. So sometimes I'll kind of ease into it and I'll be a little bit like, okay, how about auntie? Let me try and be your auntie, and then we can move on to the mommy talk. But a lot of it comes from their past experiences, from when they've been at school or when they were younger, if they've been babysat, if they've had a babysitter. That is a big thing as well.
Sadistic school bullies. Tell us all about your sadistic school bullies.
I think my kink, definitely, a lot of my kinks, and naturally bully boys, incidents where I would lock boys in, storerooms, or stab them with pencils, hit them with rulers. It all just came from there, and stealing their lunch money, humiliating them, pulling down their pants, kind of things. So, that, and the fact that I love acting. Even in my vanilla life, I've always loved being on stage. I did.
Mhm.
So that I come up with doing girl bullies allows me to act, and it also allows me to enjoy my kinks, and I can do whatever I want with it. It's my baby, and I'm really looking forward to see where I can go with it.
I feel that a love of acting, love of theater, really plays a part in BDSM in the community. So you said you have a love of theater and stage. Tell us about that. When were you first on a stage, and how did you, throughout time, how did you think use those techniques of being on stage in BDSM?
So, naturally, obviously, it happened when I was at school. I was in a lot of school plays, and then I was quite good at it. So my parents decided to send me to a theatre school, and I remember I joined a theatre school, and within 2 weeks, the leading person for a role had dropped out, and it was actually playing a boy. It was playing a boy bully, so I had to replace this person, learn all of the play within the space of a couple of days, and then just turn up and do it. And I just absolutely loved it. I loved the buzz that I got from it, the creativity, and I love being watched as well. So the audience, some people, when they're being watched, they don't like it, but it does the opposite to me. It only spurs me on more. Yeah.
Yeah, I know how you feel, and because I've done plays, I've in school, theater, college, and stuff like that. In scenes, I kind of feel that energy, like I'm on stage, even though I'm not on stage. You know what I mean? Do you feel the same kind of, like you're an actor in a way? You're playing a role.
With creating content, it's my opportunity to express myself. And you know, with role play that I really enjoy doing, I can be a nurse, I can be a nun, you know, I can be a head teacher, I can be a babysitter, I can be whatever I want to be, and I can make up the backstory for that, and I can, you know, embrace kink and acting together.
With role play, do you have like a there's a do you have a personal favorite role play, and then there's the like the professional role play, which is people ask of you, I'm sure, a lot. But what's your personal favorite?
My personal favourite is domestic. I love domestic kink. So you know, things like being a strict headmistress, or even just being, you know, a bad girl next door in a pair of jeans and a t-shirt and a pair of leather boots. I just love the authentic, natural dom. That is something that
Yeah,
anyway,
I I think I'm going to use that as a quote. I love the authentic, natural dom. Yeah, wonderful. Well, absolutely wonderful. West Midlands. You're in West Midlands is important. Tell us about West Midlands, because a lot of people, they think of England, they think of the UK. You know, of course, they think of London, and there's other parts like Manchester, England. But what is West?
America before, you know, where are you from? You know, and you say, is it London? They're like, no, it's not London, it's Birmingham. They're like, Peaky Blinders. Well, there is more to Birmingham than just the Peaky Blinders, although it's a great show. Yeah, there's a lot going on, you know, in the kink community there. Definitely more so over the last couple of years. You know, there's some good friends of mine, Fame, Beastie. They run, which is an alternative market every Sunday of the month. They run that, and that's right centre. And then got a big venue that they hire to do that local market event. And then off the back of that, they've introduced lots of new events as well. You've got a Birmingham Fetish Weekend, which runs through the whole of the weekend. And I don't think they've even got a London Fetish Weekend anymore. They used to, but they haven't. But Birmingham has now got a whole Fetish Weekend, which is amazing. Yeah.
Speaking of Birmingham and West Midlands, you probably I'd be very surprised if you know anything about this, but there's an indie rock kind of legend by named Lawrence. He was in a band called Felt, and is also in a band called Denim, also Go Kart Mozart and Mozart Estate. And he started a record label called West Midlands Records, and he writes songs about Birmingham and West Midlands and all that stuff.
As well, so yeah.
So I was just wondering, have you ever heard of him? Because I've heard of him from across the pond. I was wondering if you've heard of him and you're there.
I've no.
It's funny how art works. All right, so in West Midlands, all these events that you throw, in your opinion, what's a perfect BDSM event?
I think a perfect everyone being accepted. It is that simple. Just everybody feeling accepted, everybody feeling engaged with the mistresses and also the other slaves. And the good thing about the event is it's a massive social step for people that may not have attended any events before. And it's a good opportunity for them to not only you know, be in the presence of other mistresses and enjoy their own kinks, but share their own kink experiences or concerns with other male submissives as well, that they may not get to speak to with their normal guy friends, you know. So it does give them a good opportunity to open up to other submissive males as well, which is nice to see.
I love hearing stories about meeting people, getting people together. And one person who is on your FedLife page is Diana Von Rig. Please tell, how did you two meet? And what is your...
Through a mutual friend who's quite a well-known videographer in the Midlands scene and across the UK, a guy called Fetish Look. So we met through a shoot, and he was like, you know, used to, you're going to get on, you know, you've got good energy, you should work together. And then we ended up filming together, and we pretty much, you know, just clicked from day one.
We got some questions. Of course, we'll oh, wow. We got the stand. We got a bunch of questions. Let's see. Okay. Hi, mistress. Do you love barefoot ball busting? Gary123 asks. Do you love barefoot ball busting? Not like it.
Favorite of mine. I actually prefer doing ball busting with that direct contact. So no trainers, no ballet flats, no heels, no boots, just foot to the ball. Great.
Effective, yeah. Shay Patrick Cormack says, mistress, do you like pegging and chastity key holding?
I do, yes. Pegging, I mean, who doesn't love being pegged? You know, I think it was probably one of the first kinks that I got into actually, when I started doing professional sessions and stuff. And I love key holding. You know, I've got a submissive at the moment who's been locked for 2 years. And he's got a beautiful device from Steelworks, which is stainless steel. So there's absolutely no way that he can get out of it. It's one of the best cages I've seen. Yeah, so it is a big part.
And continues Smarak Dash or Smarak Dash says, what are your thoughts about chastity? What's the longest you kept a sub locked up? Now you said, what was the length that you said?
Yeah. 2 years is the longest. Yeah.
Okay, so let me ask this. We'll talk about chastity. And everybody, if you go to lockedinlust.com, use the code YKF, you get 15% off. I'm in chastity right now. I'm having a great time. I went to a party last night. We have fun. It's important to have the right key holder, right? So what makes a good key holder?
I think, you know, what makes a good key holder is, you know, regular communication and encouragement. There's so many people that will go into it without communicating what they actually want from it. And again, it's very psychological. You know, it's not just physically being locked up. You have to have that strong attachment and desire to stay locked for that person. I do really well with chastity packages. I have done for the last 7 years. I do a lot of online key holding. So I see, you know, people that will contact me from all over the world, and I do a lot of online key holding with them. That was particularly busy, as you can imagine, during lockdown. It was just off the chart, the amount of emails I was getting for online key holding.
Lockdown during lockdown, locked up during lockdown, basically. Yeah. So, okay, during COVID, you have all these chastity slaves. Miss Lady Louisa, please lock me up in chastity. I'll be your slave. I'll be this. Out of all these people, what makes you choose the right one?
Well, that's the thing. I do try to take the time to choose the right person. It's usually as simple as how they've written the email. Is it somebody that I think is genuinely going to commit to the package or not, the chastity package, or is it somebody that's going to get 2 or 3 days in and decide it's not for them? So, you know, if the email has, you know, contacted me and said, look, you know, I've got a bit of experience with being locked up, and I'm now mentally ready to be locked up longer, then I'm more likely to engage with them than someone that says it's my first time, I want to be locked up for life. I'm probably not going to believe them.
Yeah, I noticed with chastity play, there are different styles, right? Sometimes there's the torture, straight up torture. It's a chastity device, you know? But then there's, for example, in my play, there's the other side of it. There's a romance to it, right? There's the beautiful feeling. I'm sorry?
Very sensual side to chastity, you know, with the teasing and, you know, being denied and sort of, you know, using, you know, toys to stimulate you and tease you as much as possible whilst you're still locked. You know, the whole orgasm denial that comes hand in hand with chastity.
What are some of the, I don't want to say cringiest, but let's just say most memorable, whiny excuses for them, like this lady, please unlock me. I'll clean your house. I'll wash your car. I'll I'll do your taxes. Just unlock me now, please. What are some of the whining?
I've had quite a lot of that, but even the lengths and the lies that they will go to, like I've had an emergency, I need to go to the hospital, you know, or I've, you know, even telling lies such as, you know, I've injured myself, I really need to come out of the chastity, please give me permission to come out of the chastity. They will do anything, some of them, just to get out of it, which is crazy. You know,
It is. Well, it's funny because a lot of these people, like, including myself, I'm to blame. Like, you want to be in because the feeling, it's sexual, it's kink, you're a lot, you know, and stuff like that. And then once you're out, you're like, oh shit, this is what I asked for. You know, like this.
yeah, I think it's you know, trying to know what the fantasy is and then what the actual reality is. And I think that
Yeah.
be committed, definitely. If they're not committed to it, then they just won't last. And I always say to them, you know, if you're in chastity, start off with like 7 to 10 days and just see how you get on. Mm.
And I noticed that chastity and sissification come into play. And you are a person who explores sissification role play quite a bit. Why do you think chastity and sissification go hand in hand? So,
I think a lot of it, again, it's been teased, it's been denied. It's, you know, the role play of being a sissy that's in this pretty little pink cage, her little clitty all locked away. You know, it's very much about that humiliation aspect. So often a lot of the sissies will already turned up, you know, turn up to a session already being caged, and some of them will then obviously asked to be put into a cage later in the session, and that will be used as part of the role play in the session. And particularly, you know, if they're having strap on or if they're doing some oral play or encouraged by play, the thought that, you know, they're on their knees or they're bent over, and, you know, they're completely restricted, you know, they're getting no orgasm. However, it's not about them, it's not about their little cage.
yeah, we have some questions. Smarak Dash says, do you have any live-in subs? If so, what are the rituals and protocols they have to follow?
No, I don't. I don't have a living slave. It's not something that's really appealed to me. I know, obviously, some people do enjoy that, but for me, you know, I very much got the dungeon. That's where I see the slaves, and that's where it ends for me. I have got a regular submissive that comes and cleans for me quite regularly. So yeah.
Now, okay, I'm living in a relationship now where I'm locked in chastity, sometimes put in a French maid outfit and I have to clean the house. Right. Yeah, I call it Femdom Friday. Right. So what are some things you could do when your sub is cleaning your house? What are some things that you do to either tease him, taunt him, or just
Yeah, so you know, I might just give them harder jobs to do to see if they can do those jobs, and then if they do them, they'll be rewarded. Or, you know, I like to make the cleaning harder for them, you know, or I might be wearing something sexy, and the fact that they're just not even allowed to look at me, they're just cleaning my toilet, you know. And sometimes with my partner, suited switch, he is a switch, so at sometimes we can do a little bit of couples cook holding, and the sissy cleaner that I've got is just made to worship my feet whilst I'm having him. So that is their reward because they're enjoying their cook holding, and we enjoy that as well. So it's kinks that work really well for the sissy cleaner, and it also works for us. Yeah.
it's a great setup? Now, when it comes to switches, you're talking about, what's the name of your switch again? Suited switch? Um, I'm a switch myself. And I think it's unique. It's different. It's a different vibe. It's a different energy. Um, how do you maintain that energy? What being a switch or being with a switch, is a little different. How is it different?
It's different because sometimes you know, you've got different points of view, and you could be in that moment where one of you is feeling submissive and the other one is feeling dominant, and it's trying to find that time when you're both on the same page. And it is really important that we're both in the same mindset. And even though he is very switchy, he's very submissive to me, so most of the time it is me.
Yeah. So we got Stan question. Stan Vladimir, he's the art director for the show. If you could have any superpower, what would it be, and how would you use it in your kink?
Oh, well, I probably would be invisible, just so I could check up on everyone in Chastity and make sure that they are actually locked and then they're not telling any lies. Yeah.
And with that, get 15% off at Locked in Lust with code YKF. Every time I mention Chastity, gotta pay the bills. Shahid Kapoor, have you ever trampled a male?
I have. I enjoy trampling. Trampling is very good fun, and weirdly, I am awful. My balance is usually awful, but when it comes to trampling, I'm very good. I can stay on trampling the body for quite a while. So yeah, love trampling.
Thoughts on SPH? Marco 9 asks. Thoughts on SPH? Small penis humiliation. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I enjoy it. I think it's great fun. You've got the whole humiliation of it. You've got the dick ratings. It's something that is just empowering, really, to be able to give them that humiliation, knowing, quite frankly, that they'll never be able to please a woman with such a tiny penis.
Why do you think there are some men out there who they crave small penis humiliation? What do you think the psychology behind that? What is behind that?
It's very much about just confirming what they already know, and that worthlessness, that degrading humiliation, to a kinky person. Obviously it's turning them on, it's making them excited, so the more that they hear the truth, or send you a picture, look at me, I've got a small penis, it's just feeding into their kink, and it's obviously making them very psychologically switched on and turned on to that humiliation.
We do have a couple questions. One thing, Sissification, ABDL, Chastity, all that stuff, they are unique fetishes. They do overlap, but they are very unique at the same time. Let's say I'm a person who has no experience at all. I come to you. I'm interested in all of that, but I'm not focused and I have no experience. I book a session with you. What happened?
It's very much about trying to include it all in one session. So, if you into age play, sissification, humiliation, it's maybe doing a session where it starts off that you do the sissy stuff and then, turn it into a bit of a role play. If you want to graduate into becoming, a big girl or a big boy, then, you have to earn that right and you have to please me and you have to serve me to get there during the session. So that's often what will happen. We'll start off doing one activity and then we'll gently move into something else.
Back to the trampling thing. Shahid Kapoor says, have you ever trampled a male? When you trample a male, some people, I don't think, unless you've been trampled or see it, people don't realize what that means, what it entails really. So let's say you have someone who you've trampled before, they're ready to be trampled. You want to trample them. What happens next?
So yeah, if they obviously ready to be trampled, obviously make sure they haven't got any injuries that I need to avoid, any areas to trample on. But gently, we'll just start off with barefoot trampling over their back, stomach, walk over their legs. And then if I think they're enjoying it, I'll do it a little bit harder, maybe do some jumping, mix that in with the trampling. And then obviously maybe put some heels on if they're feeling brave enough.
PD has a question. I definitely want to get back to sissification. Trust me. The show always goes back to sissification. But PD asks, I am from India and find British doms really attractive, probably because of our colonial past. Have you ever had any experience where you role played as a colonial rider doming over an Indian sub? Let's take that question and expand it to just ever,
Never had a real time session with this kind of role play dynamic, but I have had online slave for about 6 months, and he was in regular contact with me, like daily content. He was paying me every single day. He was from the West Midlands. He was an Indian doctor, so obviously, you've got that heritage there. You've got the importance of being a doctor, but he really liked me to play on that and humiliate him for being such a holy person and such a intellectual person, and he was really into feats and humiliation, so we did a lot of role play and things like that, and I did find it really interesting because it is a bit of religion play, so that is something that I did play on.
religion play is interesting. Is that something? Are you a religious person, would you say, or a spiritual person?
But I grew up from quite a religious family, so it is for me sort of when I've done role plays and when I've done sessions that are religion based, it is something that I can relate to because I was brought up with a church background, and I really enjoy being a sadistic nun, a rebellious one.
No, I know exactly how you feel because I had to make my confirmation, my communion, and all that stuff. Go to CCD. I didn't go to Catholic school or anything like that, but and it made me want to rebel. And not only that, but it made me want to express myself even more. Right. So I don't know. I find it funny. What Shamak Dash asks, what is the most extreme thing you've ever done?
Ooh, yeah. Well, I've done like double fisting before, which is obviously quite extreme, like really big toys as well, anal stuff. Um, and then even just having like a long whipping session, or a double whipping session. I remember having one a couple of years ago now, and it was brutal, and to the point where the walls were covered in blood, and this slave was just completely still because it got to that point where he had just had so much whipping that he just couldn't take any more, but his body was just still taking it. It was surreal, and I was in such a headspace, and he was whipped for, I think it was over an hour. So that for me, it was quite brutal, but very enjoyable. Yeah.
I think it's funny that later in the chat, someone asked, "Do you like whipping and caning?" After all that, okay. He asked, "What are your thoughts about water sports?"
I really love water sports. There's a thing which is quite a well-known saying in the industry, which is, piss shy, or, stage fright when it comes to water sports. And when I first started out, I didn't have that. I could just pierce and pierce and pierce. And then after lockdown, and I came back out of lockdown, I got stage fright for about a year. I just lost the flow. But I found the love for it again, and I do have my own little toilet, custom made. Yeah,
Do you drink certain things or eat certain things?
lots of water, as much water as possible. Yeah.
Okay. Gary123 says, "Miss, are doms more sadistic? Doms Miss our doms are more sadistic player in the UK than the rest of the world. What are your thoughts?" So basically, he's saying that UK doms are more sadistic than other doms in the rest of the world. Do you have any thoughts?
I don't think necessarily. I think it depends on the person, not necessarily where they're from. But I definitely think that the British Dom has got, you know, a very strict, hardcore, you know, reputation. You know, that is the thing. But then, you know, you can go to Germany, for example, and there's a lot of you know, well-known strict and harsh doms over there. So I don't think necessarily, but I definitely think it's up there.
How does the fetish of the British woman, like, strict, like, I mean, obviously you're using it to your advantage, but it must be a complicated emotion, right? Because, you know, you're not just a fetish dispenser, you're a human being, you're, you know, so how does that, how would you describe the feelings that you have when it comes to people having the fetish, like, just because you're English, or just because you have an accent, or just because you're from West Midlands or something like that? How does that?
It doesn't offend me. I think I just embrace it, and you know, I play.
Right on. Nice. That's awesome. Okay. Stan Vladimir asks, what type of sessions would you never interact with? So before we answer this, we don't kink shame on the show, so please don't, like, make fun of it. But just certain things that, like, you're like, no, I'm not gonna do.
About preference, isn't it? Everybody has got their own preference, and we're not all going to drink the same cup of tea. But for me, you know, things like scat play, you know, poo, it's not a big thing for me. It's not something that I would choose to enjoy.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah. All right. Let's talk about the lifestyle. Let's talk about lifestyle. Some people get burned out. Some people, like, I love this life. I really do. I have to the core. I love the culture and everything, but it's time consuming. It's money. It's emotionally, you know, it's a roller coaster ride. Did you ever get a feeling you were burned out and you were going to maybe quit the lifestyle, go vanilla? But what changed?
About 2 years ago, I was just so busy, to be honest, and I think I prioritized kink too much, and I was doing sessions 5 6 days a week, you know, hardly any weekends to myself, late evenings, and it was getting to that point where I was just hating the job. I was hating what I was doing. I wasn't enjoying kink. So obviously something had to give, and I was able to get, you know, a good routine back in place, strict hours, you know, switching off my mobile phone, not answering to emails or online session requests, just completely switching off, making sure that I had my days off from kink.
Yeah. Now back to chastity. What are some fun ways you could deny someone's orgasm?
So many different ways, you know. Yeah, I mean, there's a new device at the moment, which is an anal edging device, and I've been looking into buying that, which does help with that. So I'm always looking at different devices, but you know, even things like, you know, CBT, you know, whilst in chastity, there's so many things you can do, even just like slapping and ball grabbing, you know, that is a big thing, and just using vibration play as well, you know, making them as hard as they possibly can, knowing that they're never going to get that release from the cage. Yeah.
Yeah. Anal edging device. Please, what is that? Tell us all about it, the anal edging device that you were.
Yeah, so it it goes on, so it's very sensory based, so it goes on the nerves that are in the buttocks. So, you know, every time you're clinching, it knows when you're going to come, and it stops you from coming. It is still being made at the moment, so I'm waiting for it to be back in stock, and I will definitely be purchasing that.
Nice. So sissification, we talked about sissification and chastity and everything like that. Throughout the years, we've grown as kinky people, you know what I mean? Our at first sissification, femdom and stuff like that, of course it's a fetish, and you're like, oh, but then the more mature I get, there are other issues involved. There are you know, misogyny issues, gender issues. There's questions about, is this good or is it bad? Can I use my kink? Can I use my fetish for good? So, in other words, what I'm asking is, has your opinion of sissification evolved, or how has it changed throughout the years?
I don't think that it's changed at all, because sissification is very much about that kinkster being able to be in a non-judgmentative environment and enjoy their kink, and get that release of, being feminine. But again, every sissy is different. Every sissy has got their own style, so not every single person is the same. And I think it is just more about them being able to be who they are rather than be that.
Is there a way we can, because humiliation comes with sissification sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes. Is there, I'm just wondering, are there ways to explore sissification without
Yeah,
degrading women or womanhood?
definitely. It's not about always, the verbal name calling. A lot of them, they want praise. They want to be called good girl. It's about them getting that praise and getting that encouragement. And some of them enjoy the very softer side of it. It's not, about that verbal humiliation in terms of the name calling. And it's about empowering women. In my point of view, that's what it's all.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. We have some questions. All right, we're gonna get down and dirty. PD asks, "What is the?" Oh, we did the humiliating thing. Uh, Stan, have you ever cosplayed or role played in sessions where you pretended to be someone from a novel?
Yeah, so I have, because I do a lot of role play sessions. So I've done things like Catwoman, and I did Harley Quinn as well. That was quite fun.
Stan, coming through with a question. That's a great question. I hope you add it to the mix for every episode now. Great question. Thanks. Um, Smarak Dash says, "What is the most extreme ball busting session you've done?"
Ooh. I don't know, because I've done quite a few. um, it was probably a session which was in Boots, actually. It was a double dom session in Boots, and yeah, it was quite brutal, because the slave, even though he was quite good at ball busting, he wasn't particularly used to being ball busted in pointy heels, which is something that we've worked on since then. But you can imagine, if you're not used to being kicked in heels, and then you've got two mistresses doing it. But that actually wasn't for a session, that was for a clip, but it was very brutal. But yeah.
And, oh, anal edging devices. What type of music do you use in sessions for aftercare?
I think it just depends. I'm quite selfish, really. I've got my own playlist, so whatever I feel like listening to on that playlist, it could be reggae, rock, dance. I
Are
like.
there? I'm a huge fan of reggae. The Harder They Come soundtrack is amazing. Yeah, I love that. I love all that stuff, especially the dub stuff. DJ Spooky. Um, are there any certain songs specifically that either gets you in the mood for a session or is perfect for aftercare, like a go-to song for either or?
I feel quite turned on when I'm listening to Kings of Leon, "Sex on Fire." Bit of a cheesy one, but yeah, I really enjoy that. And Cigarettes After Sex, I think, their music, it's very tranquil, and it's just amazing. So yeah, Cigarettes After Sex and Kings of Leon there.
PD has another question. He specifically says, "No, I didn't ask this, but I'm asking that. What is the most humiliating thing that you've done with sub?"
Oh gosh. Probably, being during an encouraged by session. I think that's got to be up there with humiliation. I mean, being fucked by a guy, swallowing a guy's load, it is pretty, yeah, humiliating. And then I've done other things like, shoving heads down the toilet. But I think definitely the force buy.
You mentioned double dom sessions. I'm friends with doing this. I'm friends with a lot of dominatrixes, and getting a good person to dom with for a double dom session is a challenge sometimes. So, what makes? How do you know it's what makes a good double dom session? What makes a good person, a good dom to double dom with?
But I naturally click with the lady, the mistress that you're working with. You've got to make sure that you're on the same page, that you vibe off each other, that you've got a connection with each other, because then that's going to be so much easier, obviously. And the slaves will feel more relaxed knowing how you bounce off each other. So you've got to have that good rapport, and there's got to be a lot of trust as well. You've got to be able to trust each other and communicate with each other, and take in turns. If one person needs to take a break, then you need to take center stage with things, or if you need to take a back seat and the other person needs a break, vice versa. It's having that good rapport, being able to do that.
We have a question. Stan has a question, but I'm going to reword it. When's the last time you consensually kidnapped somebody?
It's actually been a while. I don't get to do that many kidnap sessions. I think I've only ever done a handful, because with kidnapped slaves, a lot of them are fantasies. So yes, you will get requests and emails and demands, and you'll sort through them. But when it comes to actually talking about arranging it, they just disappear. So I think for a lot of people, it's a fantasy of being kidnapped. Yeah.
And Smart Dash asks, "Are you wearing a chastity key on your neck?"
I am. Yes, I've got two keys on. Yeah. Like I said.
So are they? How long have they been locked?
So I've got my long-term slave, who's my collared slave. He's been locked for 2 years. And then I've got suited switches key on as well, and he's locked quite regularly as well. At least every other month, there's a period where he's just completely locked. Yeah.
Do you prefer silicone, plastic, or metal?
Shiny.
You said
Shiny metal. Yeah.
shiny metal. Shiny metal, definitely. Okay, let's get back to the questions. We got so many. Do you have any live-in subs? We asked that. Okay. What's your favorite play? Gary asked.
Yeah. So again, there's so much to say which is my favourite, but it's definitely role play, sissification, impact play, humiliation.
Now with the double dom sessions, you have the chemistry and everything like that. Is there usually someone out of the two doms? You have two dominatrixes. Does one take the lead more often than not, or is it always 50%? What's the dynamic like when it comes to power?
Well, you'd think there'd be like a good cop, bad cop thing, but I don't think it is like that. You're literally both going for it, So, oh, she's going to go a little bit easier on you. You're both on the same wavelength, and you're both delivering that session, to the same standard.
Is it kind of, for lack of a better description, is it like the sub is a victim and both of the doms are like criminals who are who are murdering? Or, or let's put it this way: the doms are freeing the subs emotionally and mentally from their sexual constraints, I guess. Okay, let's continue. Pegging. Miss Lady Louisa, Kate West asks me to ask you, why are men so obsessed with their own assholes?
I think obviously that's where the G spot is, isn't it, for men? That's where the sweet spot is. It's so humiliating, and it's something that gives them physical pleasure, but also you have got people that just psychologically love that feeling of being overpowered and feeling completely helpless to having the strap on.
Stan Vladimir asks, for your sub who's been in chastity for 2 years, has he had difficulty when it comes to hygiene? Or
No, he has got a key that he keeps so he can clean his cage every day. So I allow him to obviously have his shower, clean the cage, put it straight back on after. So he hasn't had any issues with hygiene. And I get that so much. So many people say to me, oh, I really want to be locked, but I'm not sure about hygiene. It's quite simple. You can keep a key. You can keep that key in a lockbox. Just take it out, have your shower, put it back in the box. It's not a big issue.
so, okay, when we were born, when you were born, you didn't like have this beautiful leather latex outfit on. You didn't have a riding crop in your hand or anything. You had to ease into this lifestyle. What inspired you into this lifestyle at all, into thinking that you could do it?
Yeah, so at the time, when I started exploring and going for events and stuff, I was working in a very sort of corporate job that I was, I thought that was my future. I was going to work my way up in business, and got into kink. So it was an escape for me from having the pressures of such a highly stressed job, and just being able to dress up and just play and just explore. And I just thought, it's amazing. And the more and more I did it, I just eventually thought I want to do it forever.
Yeah. No, I understand that. I think a lot of people out there, they're living corporate lives, or just a regular life, and they're thankful for what they have and everything like that, but they want more. They want something else. There's something, there's a hole inside them that needs to be filled, for lack of a better metaphor. Right? All right. All right. We talked about pegging. So, and we talked about what inspired you, but your first time, what about your first session ever? I'm sure there were some mistakes made. I'm sure you were nervous. Tell us about that.
The cat interrupted me there. Naughty kitty.
What's your cat's name?
Kitty. Bless her. Yeah, I think it was actually a weird first session, because this person wanted to be beaten up, and of course you don't know how far to go with the punching and the kicking, and it would have been easy if someone just said kick me in your balls, but this person wanted an actual beat down session. So I remember sort of kicking him a little bit too hard at one point, and then sort of having to sort of ease off a little bit and just build it up. So I think sometimes, when you are new to kink, you can get carried away, and I think a lot of that is, enthusiasm, nerves, a little bit of both. Yeah.
Yeah. And then you have people like Matthew, C4, says, love to be pegged by Miss Lady Louisa. Gary123 asks, how do you deal with a new person coming into you for a session? How do you calm them? Because I see it all the time, at dungeons and at clubs, and even me, I'm very enthusiastic. You know what I mean? So how do you calm them down?
I think again, it's just communication and reassurance, and letting them know that this is a safe space and they can open up to you. I do a thing that I like to call the introductory phone call. So I will always have a phone call with them before they actually book the session, and that automatically will just help calm their nerves, so they've already asked me questions and stuff, and so that when they arrive, when they turn up, they haven't got loads of questions. We've already spoken about things.
And Stan Vladimir asks, what are your thoughts on medical play? Which part do you enjoy the most?
So I enjoy sounding, I enjoy stapling, and I also enjoy needles. Those are the main things that I enjoy. Anything sharp, spiky, that I can really feel going in. I just love the feeling of it. I love how intrusive, it can be. So yeah, particularly sounding, really enjoy it.
So I think it's funny that sounding, staples, and needles, it's like I don't know. I think it's great. It rolls off the tongue. Sounding, staples, needles. Okay, we did superpower. Now let's pegging. Right. Do you prefer? What do you prefer? There's what they prefer is one thing, but do you prefer a rough style? Do you like large and rough, or do you like the sensuality of it? The the slowness.
Very much depend on the person and the mood. That's what it comes down to, the person and the mood. There's sometimes, if I'm enjoying pegging with my partner, it might be a little bit more sensual, or if I've got a newbie in who's new to strap on, I might take it a little bit slow. But if it's somebody that I know enjoys it rough, then absolutely I can give a good pounding.
So we were talking about living in the corporate world, getting out into the kink community, just starting your very first session. I mean, not just your first session, but starting out, right? Mistakes are made. We maybe those mistakes can help other people. So what are some mistakes that you've made that were very valuable to you that maybe be able to help someone else who's starting out?
I think having boundaries, having clear boundaries in place, that your time is your time. So when I was, a new mistress starting out, I might, if a session ran over by 10 minutes, 15 minutes, it's probably something at the time that I wouldn't worry about too much, because I want them to enjoy the experience. But actually, it's my time. So, if I'm running late now, I've got to hurry up because I've got somebody else to see, etc. So I think it's just about good timekeeping, and making sure that you've got those clear boundaries in place and that people respect those boundaries.
And everybody out there listening to this, the number one rule: never waste the dom's time.
No, I hate wait. I've got a whole time wasting list, and I've even got, my work phone, I've got time waster 2, time waster 3, time waster 4. It just,
time never. The biggest insult you could think of is wasting a dom's time, seriously, and you don't even know you're doing it half the time. Be conscious, people. Stan Vladimir asks, which actor or actress would you like to have as a sub or as a dom for?
Oh, I don't know. There's quite a few. I mean, it's difficult to say. Put me on the spot there. Probably John Wick, Keanu Reeves. I find him very attractive, so I would love to take him. Yeah.
So, all right, would you be like, you wouldn't like do anything to his dog or anything, or his car or something like that? You'd like to peg him?
I'd give him a doggy, but I wouldn't touch his dog. Yeah.
Pegging John Wick. Oh, that's going to go in the summary. Pegging John Wick. Now, think about it. Let's just think about that for a second. John Wick was there, comes into your dungeon, and he's like looking to kill somebody, and he's waiting. He's waiting. He's going to murder somebody. He's got to spend time in your dungeon, right? You have an idea. You want to peg John Wick. How do you peg John Wick?
I'd probably have to give him some strong aromas just to calm him down. And then, I'd strap him down and have my wicked way with him.
With that being said, let's do rapid fire recommendations, okay? They don't have to be kink related. And they don't have to be the be all end all of who represents you, but they're just recommendations, things you like. So I'm going to ask you to recommend something, and you recommend it. Recommend a film.
Wow. One of my favorite films, even to this day, is Pretty Woman. And I am surprised the amount of men that still haven't watched.
I've seen that movie so many times. And you know what? Women took me out to see it. Like, they wanted to go out on a date with it. They chose it. So, listen.
boring.
All right, recommend a book.
Oh, well, I was reading a book called Happy, and it's by a British author called Fern, and she is very much talking about how to be happy in life, how to be a woman, how to be a mother, how to be a TV presenter, how to fit all of that in and just be happy with your life, with your schedule. And I started reading that, and it's just one of those books that's always, it's touched me, to see the struggles of just trying to live a balanced life whilst you're still in the limelight as well, whilst you've still got the press and, people wanting a piece of you. How do you still be happy for you?
Yeah. And speaking of books, I would like to just take a moment to shout out some of the authors who've been on the show. Dirk Hooper has a book, a brand new book, re-release of Dominatrix Boss. Exodai, Elizabeth Hendricks, Exodai, about sexual torture in Japan. Fell in love with dominatrix in Japan. It's wild story. Exodai, check that out. My Body, My Business by Melissa Todd, dominatrix from the UK. Also, Kaz B has a book called Confessions of a Dominatrix, which is wonderful. Finally, Naughtylicious by Carly B. And of course, there's my books, The Coolest Way to Kill Yourself, Your Kinky Friends, and Chip Black Nail Polish. Oh, great. We got some, okay. Stan Vladimir says, John Wick, basically, you saved his dog and he instantly submits to you as... So you save his dog and you love John Wick. That's the plot. We should make John Wick 5.
Definitely. Yeah.
starting Lady Louisa.
Mm.
Okay, so ultimate. Oh wait, no, we're still on the recommendations. Recommend a song.
So one of my favourite songs, I have to say, is Cigarettes After Sex Apocalypse. It's such an amazing song. So if you haven't listened to it already, go listen to it over on iTunes.
Recommend art. It could be any kind of art, any medium, any artist, living or dead, famous or unknown, just art.
So there's an artist that I've followed on Twitter for some time now, and he's done me personal portraits, called David Moore, and his art is fantastic. He's very, very good. Give him a picture, an image, what you want to achieve, he will make it happen.
Nice. I'm going to check that out. Right. Recommend a meal.
Oh, wow. I'm just going to say, a beef roast. I'm going to be quite British there. I do love a nice steak as well. So smokehouses, steakhouses, beef. I love it all.
Speaking of food, PD asks, what are some of the grossest things you have ever made a sub eat?
Oh, maggots, crickets. Yeah, maggots, and a submissive girl. I know she's really into sick plates, so her own vomit, her own sick. Yeah.
Okay. Overrated, underrated. We're gonna play a game. We're almost done. We're gonna play a game. Overrated, underrated. I'm gonna say a kink or a fetish. Okay. You say if it's overrated or underrated and why. So basically, if I say French maid outfits, you may say underrated or overrated. Overrated because they're everywhere. Everyone uses them. Underrated because they're not used enough. Or they're not. So it depends on your mood. Depends on your attitude. Whatever. It gives insight to you. Overrated, underrated. Let's go. Corsets.
Underrated.
Why?
I still don't feel that there is enough people that wear corsets, because it's, a big, statement wearing one. And I don't feel that, a lot of people, from the 1950s thought that they were that feminine, you know. But now there's so many different styles of corsets that you can get, and so many that actually I do feel that, yeah, they are getting more popular, but they're not as big as what they should be.
Sploshing. Overrated or underrated?
Just say, I think it's underrated. I don't feel that sploshing as a kink is as big as it could be. It is something that I myself just dismissed for a long time, but I think in the last couple of years especially, I really do enjoy a good sploshing session, and potentially looking into running my own sploshing events at some point in the future. So, you know, I do think there's a demand for sploshing events.
The thing is that we were talking about splashing yesterday at Mischief Manor. It's the cleanup. That's the challenge. That's
That's probably why it puts a lot of people off, and it does put me off, but I feel that if it's done and it's organized in the right way to make as less mess as possible, you know,
yeah,
or else just make sure you've got a couple of slaves to clean up.
right. Definitely. Oh, we're gonna definitely get back into. I want to talk more about ABDL, but let's say overrated, underrated
I would say again, underrated. I feel that, you know, not that many people have the confidence to, you know, come forward and ask to wear them, or, you know, they're not used to wearing them around other people, and it's a massive form of humiliation. You know, it's there's so much that goes into it. I've got 2 books at the moment that were given to me by one of my slaves, and one of them is 2,000 ways to punish the baby in the diaper. So it's all about diaper punishment books.
diapers.
Halfway through reading one of them, and I've got another book to read as well. But it's put a massive insight to me about how many ways you can actually enjoy the diaper play, with sploshing, food play, diaper checks, that kind of thing. There's a lot involved with it.
Shout out to Natasha Strange from Portland. She has a book called D is for Diaper, which is a children like a book for diaper play to be read by mommy doms in subs in their diapers. It's a book just for that. It's a it's a niche market, but still it's got to exist, right?
There slowly, yeah.
It's awesome. It's wonderful. All right, so overrated, underrated. Chastity devices.
I am gonna say overrated, and the reason
Really?
devices are overrated is because there's far too many people, you know, that don't take chastity serious, you know, and, you know, they don't actually look into buying a proper chastity device. They might just go into eBay and just buy, you know, a plastic one, and not thinking about, you know, is it going to last a long time? Is it going to be comfortable?
Yeah, I a lot of people don't take it seriously. If you think about it, do your research. It's about commitment. I mean, I look at it in the romantic sense. It is about commitment, So this a woman wants to hold the key to your cock, basically. You're going to be wearing this, and you're going, it's she holds the key. You're wearing this thing all day long. It's a commitment to her. It's like, So yeah, if you're thinking about it, that's part of it. The commitment is the part of it. That's the joy. Be having it. Oh, just because it's kinky, or oh, just because it's like for 5 minutes, and I'm gonna think like that's kind of defeats the purpose. So go to Locked and Lust. Code YKF, get 15% off. It's great. All right, underrated, overrated. The daddy baby girl dynamic.
Well, I'm going to say that's underrated. I don't feel, there is particularly, enough people that share their own stories of being in that kind of relationship. And I've got friends that are littles and bigs and stuff. So, it's very nice to see them flourishing. But I don't feel that there is enough dynamics talking about it. It's more about the male, the master. It's not necessarily about, you know, the little girl all the time. So it's nice to push on that a little bit more. You know, understand that, you know, especially when, you know, there's a lot of switch couples out there as well. That is a big thing for them. Who's going to be daddy today? Who's going to be mommy? We're going to have daddy days. We're going to have mommy days. You know, it's just one of those, but it needs to be talked about more, I think. Yeah.
PD asks, begging and groveling, overrated or under?
I think underrated. I don't think you can ever beg enough. You know, I absolutely love the groveling, love the begging. I don't think it's something that would ever get boring, you know.
I don't think you can ever beg enough. I was looking for a quote. I think that's a great quote for you. For the summary. That's awesome. Ashtray Boy says, Miss Lady Louisa, what brand of cigarette do you like? Do you get smoking fetish?
I like Marlboro. It's always a good cigarette to enjoy, or menthol.
Do you get smoking fetish requests often?
I do, yeah. I'm an ex-smoker now, but I still smoke socially. So, you know, if it's for session, particularly if it's going to be a longer session, I will do smoking sessions, smoking videos, custom smoking videos. Yeah.
Medical play, overrated or underrated?
I think it is underrated. I don't think it's something that you know, it's niche, isn't it? I don't think it's as niche as what it should be. Because I think there's lots of different forms of medical play, and I think people have misconception that it's, you know, it's all about pain and it's all about torture, but actually, you know, it can be very mentally stimulating as well. So I don't think it is something that's understood as much as it should be.
We're winding down, but I have two more questions. It could go off the rails again, but basically, platforms are being, taken off. X or Twitter is now X and stuff like that. Every person I know in the kink community uses kink basically to help them through life. It's kind of saved their lives. So, what are some ways that kinky people can help other kinky people out? I know, because like I go through life, I go even in the supermarket or something like that. You could tell when someone's like part of it, part of the community. It's every once in a while. You don't always see them that way, but sometimes you do, or you've seen them at a munch or a party.
Sure, isn't it? You just know if you're naturally drawn towards someone that is kinky, you can just see that as well. But I think like communication, is a good form of support, and sharing information, engagement groups, talking to each other. Munches are really good, going to local munches, and even just keeping that line of communication, like I say, online, with groups, platforms, sharing things.
I cannot express this enough. If you're out there and you have some kind of fetish, there are resources out there. Figure it out. Find out why you like it and how to express it in a safe, sane, consensual manner. There are people like Miss Lady Louisa, people like me, and people all over the world who could help you explore this fetish. And that's the kink community. Wonderful. Okay, so now we're both on this path. We both have had this experience. We've done so many things in our life, but there's always more. The rabbit hole always goes deep. What are you interested? What's kind of sparking your interest these days? Something you've never done before that you're curious about, or that you're just.
Well, I've just started to arrange my first adult baby event, which is going to be next month in Manchester. So something that I'm looking forward to, definitely. And that's really because there isn't enough kinky events to do with ABDL at all, really, but a few. In the UK, and particularly in Manchester, there just isn't that many. So it's just helping people to open up and explore their kinks, and have something that hopefully we can make a regular thing, and they can come to, you know, the event and enjoy just being in their own little space.
ABDL event, please tell us about that. What, I hope it happens. I really hope it happens. But what's your vision? Share
Okay,
your vision.
it's going to be next month, and it's going to be on a weekend. So it's very much a sexual play event. So by that, you know, it's not the soft play of age play where it's all, you know, cuddly toys and drawing and dancing and singing. There will be a little bit of that. There'll be a bit of pass the parcel prize competitions, but there'll also be a lot of humiliation. There'll be mummification, there'll be breath play, there'll be discipline, there'll be punishment games, there'll be so much. I've got quite a large list planned for the event. Like I say, is the first one, and hopefully if that goes well, which I'm sure it will, we'll look at doing other events as well.
Before I ask my final question, we have a question from Pratik Dutta. What are some of the most unique and interesting experiences involving toys?
Is that involving toilet slave?
I guess, yes, or just toilet play. I mean, I guess just open it up to anything involving in any kind of, you know, excretion.
Times where I've used toilet slave with other mistresses, several other ladies as well. So that's obviously quite humiliating, because you all getting off on the humiliation and, you know, the laughter and the fun that comes with that. So, you know, it's one thing just doing a solo toilet session, but when you've got one slave that's just being absolutely used as a little piss bucket, then yeah, it can be quite an amazing experience. Yeah.
Using a slave as a piss bucket, yeah, that is an amazing experience. That's memorable. I would remember it.
But and you've got multiple ladies all pissing on you at once and taking in turns, and you know you're being used as this human toilet, then it is very good for them. You know, they enjoy it, and obviously we enjoy it. So
Definitely. Stan, it was a pleasure having you in the show, Miss Lady Louisa. Have a wonderful evening. Let me ask you this. We're both going down this path, you know. Kinky, we have there's so many people, there's the world, there's fetishes, everything like that. We've come a long way. You've come a long way. Where do you want your path to take you? Your path of kink and BDSM, where do you want it to go?
I think just you know, as it is now, you know, just developing and, you know, constantly learning and building new relationships with people, you know, traveling more, and, you know, hopefully do more events and sort of see where things take me. I definitely would you know, like to see myself, you know, still flourishing in 20 years time.
Now we're all dreamers. The kink community, the BDSM community, we're all dreamers. We're all talk. We're saying we're going to do this. We're going to do this. I'm working on 1,000,000 projects myself, and some of them are going to come to fruition. And it's the energy that counts, right? So dream with me for a second. You have endless resources. You could do anything you want with anywhere, with anybody you want, anywhere you want. What is your ultimate kinky femdom fan?
I think it's, you know, it's easy to say my own personal fantasy, because I've got lots of personal fantasies, but I do really enjoy public play, particularly with my partner, Suited Switch. So definitely, you know, doing more public play, maybe on a larger scale, you know. Yeah.
A larger scale, like what? What would you think? Like in an
Oh,
arena?
or like some Roman temple, you know, such a big historic place with thousands of people watching.
Yeah. It's the beauty of imagination. Miss Lady Louisa, thank you so much. Now, how can people get in touch with you? How can people support you? Go to your events, promote your events. look at your content, follow you, tell us everything.
Yeah, so they can go to my website, which is www.missLadyLouisa.co.uk. It's, you know, globally friendly, so all different countries. Obviously, you can go to X, which is Miss Lady Louisa on there. You can go to my loyal fans and you can contact me through email, which is contact@missLadyLouisa.co.uk. But I've got lots of information on my website and also on my link tree, which is on my X page as well. If you click on that, it tells you everything.
Thank you very much. Everybody, please go to yourkinkyfriends.com, go to Patreon. We're going to have exclusive footage there soon. I got a lot. We go through it recently. Wow. Go to Spotify, subscribe, like, all that stuff. Go to lockedinlust.com and get a chest device. Or if you're a sissy, get panties. There's key holding sessions, everything with code YKF for your kinky friends, right in the corner, right there. And yeah, follow me on Twitter, Nicholas Tanek, Friends Kinky, Discord chat group, ever. Just go forth and be kinky. But everybody, the rule. First of all, you know the main rule: never waste the dom's time. Support Miss Lady Louisa. What?
Be a time waster.
Yes, don't be a time waster. Oh, we have Matthew C4, the most prettiest lady I'd ever did see. Suited switch, heart. Matthew C4, good evening. Miss Lady Louisa, thank you so much for everything. Please support, and everybody, remember the cardinal rule: be cool, be kind, keep an open mind. Take care.
Take care.